Buddhadhamma, Chapter 5, Law of Kamma, page 483. Kamma, leading to the end of Kamma. One of the earlier classifications of Kamma divides Kamma into four kinds, according to the relationship between actions and their results. One of them is dark action with dark results. Secondly, bright actions with bright results. Thirdly, actions both dark and bright with results both dark and bright. And lastly, actions neither dark nor bright with results neither dark nor bright and conducive to the end of Kamma. So far, the descriptions of the fruit of Kamma have been restricted to the first three kinds of Kamma listed above, which can be simply defined as good and bad Kamma. There remains thus the fourth kind of Kamma. Because the fruitation of Kamma in terms of this fourth factor is entirely different from the first three kinds, it needs to be distinguished. Many people, including Buddhists themselves, express an interest only in the first three kinds of Kamma and neglect the fourth kind of Kamma. Even though this final factor is an essential Buddhist principle that leads to the true goal of the Buddhadhamma, bright and dark Kamma, or good and bad Kamma, manifest in a myriad forms, which can be classified within the framework of the 10 wholesome and unwholesome path of action. Kusala and akusala Kamma apata. Destroying life, stealing, sexual misconduct, harmful or malicious speech, etc., along with the opposites, wholesome forms of actions. Such actions cause people to reap the various positive and negative fruits described earlier. They determine people's way of life, promoting them to perform further wholesome and unwholesome deeds, and to revolve in the wheel of rebirth, samsara vata. Fruitation association with four kinds of Kamma is diametrically opposed to that of the first three. That is, it is a volitional action with intention that does not lead to the accumulation of Kamma in the future. This kind of Kamma leads to the end of Kamma, to a freedom from Kamma, to the cessation of Kamma. It does not produce more Kamma. Kamma leading to the end of Kamma refers to actions in harmony with those principles, bringing about a realization of the highest goal of Buddhadhamma. From the perspective of the ARIYAMAGGASUTTA, or the Four Noble Truths, this refers to the fourth noble truth. The eightfold path, but one may equally describe it by other formats. Say of the seven factors of enlightenment, BOJJHANGASUTTA, or the threefold training of moral conduct, sila, concentration, samadhi, and wisdom, panya. Occasionally, the fourth kind of Kamma is described in relation to the other three kinds as the intention to abandon these three. This refers to those actions accompanied by an intention to bring about the non-arising of these three former kinds of Kamma. In regards to the root cause, this refers to the actions springing from non-greed, non-hatred, and non-delusion. Alopa, adosa, and amoha. A discussion of Kamma is often connected to the subject of pleasure, sukha, and pain, dukkha. Because intentional actions bear fruit as pleasure or pain, as long as there is Kamma, one must spin around in the vortex of pleasure and pain. Any state intermingled by pleasure and pain is not free from dukkha, and is thus, by definition, not the supreme, flawless state. In sum, Kamma is linked to dukkha and is cause for dukkha. In any case, this preceding paragraph refers specifically to the first three kinds of Kamma. The fourth kind of Kamma is an exception because it is Kamma leading to the end of Kamma. Good Kamma bears fruit as happiness, but this happiness is mixed up with dukkha and may be the cause for dukkha. The fourth kind of Kamma leads to the complete freedom from dukkha. Moreover, while one performs the fourth kind of Kamma, one does not experience dukkha. On the contrary, one experiences a full and genuine form of sukha. Other religious traditions in the time of Gautama Buddha, in particular of the doctrine of the Niganthas, also contain teachings on the end of Kamma. The doctrine on the Niganthas teaches the principles of past Kamma, Upekkhatta Vata, of the destruction of Kamma, Karma Khasaya, and on the causing oneself's hardship through extreme ecstaticism or ecstatic practices, Darpas, Tapas, Tapo Kamma. If one is unable to clearly distinguish these three principles from Buddha's teaching, there will be an arising confusion and misunderstanding. But if one is able to make this distinction, one will gain a clear understanding of Buddhadhamma. On the doctrine on asceticism from the Niganthas is as follows. Whatever a person feels, whether pleasure or pain, or neither pleasure or pain, all that is caused by what was done in the past. So by annihilating with asceticism past action, and by doing no fresh action, there will be no consequence in the future. With no consequence in the future, there is the destruction of action. With the destruction of action, there is a destruction of suffering. With the destruction of suffering, there is a destruction of feeling. With the destruction of feeling, all suffering will be exhausted. Such is the doctrine, such is the views of the Niganthas. The Niganthas believe that everything one experiences is the result of past Kamma. In order to bring suffering to an end, one must destroy all Kamma by burning away mental defilements through extreme ascetic practices. In this fashion, previous Kamma is dispelled. Moreover, one must refrain from creating any new Kamma. Buddhism, on the contrary, teaches that previous Kamma is one factor in a causal process. One must understand this process as it truly is in order for one's spiritual practice to proceed well. The end of suffering is possible by way of action, yet this action must be correct. It is Kamma leading to the end of Kamma. In order to eliminate Kamma, instead of remaining idle or passive, Buddhist practitioners must preserve and make determined and diligent effort. This effort is accompanied by wisdom, which leads to the freedom from power of craving and ignorance. Here are the main attributes of Kamma leading to the end of Kamma. It is the path leading to the cessation of Kamma. Kamma nirodha kamma nipatipata in Pali. Although it leads to the end of Kamma, it is itself one form of Kamma. It is referred to neither dark nor bright, or nor neither white or black. It results also are neither dark nor bright. It originated from non-greed, alopa, non-hatred, adosa, and non-delusion, amoha. By its very nature, it prevents evil actions. because it is free from any causes or conditions leading to serious wrongdoing. It is accompanied by wisdom and understanding, which discerns the true benefit and harms of things. It is a virtuous and reasoned form of action, which enhances one's life and is conducive to well-being. It is a truly wholesome and favorable form of action because effort, mindfulness, and wisdom act as supporting factors and directly conduct the activities. There is no opportunity for craving to spur people into selfishly harming others or preventing people from acting due to an attachment to personal pleasure. It is wholesome action referred to transcendent wholesomeness, lokutara kusala. The commentaries refer to this path intention magga setana, or the path knowledge, magga nana. It is called Kamma, leading to the end of Kamma, because it brings about the non-production or non-generation of Kamma. In terms of the formal principles of Dhamma practice, this Kamma refers to the eightfold path, the fourth noble truth which leads to the cessation of suffering. Dukkha nirota kamma nipatipata. According to the circumstances, however, it may also refer by other terms, the 7 factors of enlightenment, BOJJHANGA, or the threefold training, or by such general terms of intention for abandoning the 3 former kinds of Kamma. In regard to item 5, note that many people harbor the misunderstanding of craving. Tanha is solely a motivating force for action. The greater a person's craving, the more he or she will act with a sense of urgency. If one has no craving, one will be devoid of a motivation to act. One will remain idle and perhaps fall into laziness. This misunderstanding results from an incomplete view of human nature. It can create serious damage for oneself, for society, and for one's natural environment. In fact, craving is a motivation for both action and inaction. It is a motivation force for action in the case that one seeks sense objects for self-gratification. In such case, there tends to be completion and conflict between people, causing harm and distress for society. But in those circumstances in which one should act for the sake of goodness or for the sake of personal or social welfare, but whereby one does not obtain things for personal gratification, craving is a motivation for inaction. This is because craving leads to the infatuation in sensual delight and enjoyment. Even an excessive delight in sleeping or other forms of self-indulgence hinders one from performing appropriate actions. Craving here is the cause for laziness. And the greater one's ignorance, one's failure to understand the value and benefits of specific actions, the more that craving will lead to idleness and apathy. In sum, craving is either a motivation for harmful action or a motivation for indulgence and inertia, depending on the means by which one's gratification and pleasure is rewarded and satisfied. Actions that enhance the quality of life or increases true well-being are distinct from the enjoyment or attachment to sense gratification. And indeed, they often require a relinquishment of personal pleasure. Such actions do not stem from craving unless one has established secondary preconditions. Rather, they spring from wisdom, which discerns the true value of such action, which generates a delight for performing them. The delight or desire for action here is referred in Pali as chanda, either kusala chanda or dhamma chanda. In full, it is called wholesome desire, kusala chanda, or dhamma chanda, desire for the truth. Chanda is true motivation for those actions enhancing the quality of life or increasing increasing well-being. Action impelled by wholesome desire, however, may be impeded or offset by craving, tanha, which indulges in inertia or becomes infatuated by objects of sensual gratification. Under such circumstances, craving leads to dukkha, because many of one's actions are performed with a sense of resistance and coercion. If, however, one has a clear discernment of an action, true value and strength of wholesome desires is significant to escape from the obstructive force of tanha, craving. Besides functioning as the motivation for action, wholesome desire will lead to happiness. This happiness is spacious and expansive, unlike the restrictive pleasure derived from tanha. It enables one to act with joy. Moreover, fully supported and guided by effort, virya, mindfulness, sati, and panya, wisdom. One will develop concentration in one's activities. It's precisely this form of action that is referred to as Kamma, leading to the end of Kamma. The dynamic of this form of action may be outlined simply in this way. Whenever one acts in line with the eightfold noble path, or the 7 factors of enlightenment, or some other group of spiritual factor, depending on the circumstances, whereby one is guided by wisdom, craving, desire, longing for vanishes, because it has no opportunity to function. Similarly, greed, hatred, and delusion do not appear. With the absence of tanha, craving, the divested of greed, hatred, and delusion, there are no volitional actions that produce negative repercussions for one's life. Without such negative repercussions, one is free from dukkha, suffering, whereas formerly one was enslaved by the dictates of the longing, the desire, the craving, tanha. Now one's life is guided by wisdom. One develops self-mastery, true independence. For further clarity, here are some passages by Gautama Buddha on the topic of Kamma, leading to the end of Kamma. Monks, bhikkhu, Kamma should be understood. The source and origin of Kamma should be understood. The diversity of Kamma should be understood. The results of Kamma should be understood. The cessation of Kamma should be understood. The way to the cessation of Kamma should be understood. It is volition. Your intentions, monks, bhikkhus. For having wielded, one acts by body, one acts by speech, and one acts by mind. And what is the source of the origin of Kamma? Basa. It's a word in Pali meaning contact. It is the source and origin. And what is the diversity of Kamma? There is the Kamma, the results of which are to be experienced in the hellish realm. There is Kamma, that results in which are to be experienced in the animal realm. There is Kamma, with results of which are to be experienced in the realm of afflicted spirits. There is a Kamma, that results of which to be experienced in the human world. There is Kamma, that results of which to be experienced in the Devata world. This is called the diversity of Kamma. What is the results of Kamma? The results of Kamma, I say, is threefold. To be experienced in this very life, or to be experienced in the next rebirth, or on a subsequent occasion. This is called the results of Kamma. What is the cessation of Kamma? With the cessation of basa, contact, there is the cessation of Kamma. This noble path, this eightfold noble path is the way leading to the cessation of Kamma. Namely, right view, right concentration, right intention, etc. When monks, bhikkhus, a noble disciple thus clearly understands Kamma, the source and the origin of Kamma, the diversity of Kamma, the results of Kamma, the cessation of Kamma, the way leading to the cessation of Kamma, he understands the holy life endowed with penetrative panya, wisdom, to the cessation of Kamma. Monks, bhikkhus, I will teach you new and old Kamma, the cessation of Kamma, and the way leading to the cessation of Kamma. Monks, bhikkhu, and what is old Kamma? The eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind is old Kamma, fashioned by conditioning factors, generated by volition, a locus of sensation. This is called old Kamma. And what, monks, bhikkhu, is new Kamma? Whatever action one does now by body, one does by speech, or one does by mind, this is called new Kamma. And what, monks, bhikkhu, is the cessation of Kamma? When one reaches liberation through the cessation of bodily action, through verbal action, and through mental action, this is called the cessation of Kamma. And what, monks, bhikkhu, is the way leading to the cessation of Kamma? It is this noble eightfold path, right view, right concentration, etc. This is called the way leading to the cessation of Kamma. Monks, bhikkhu, this body is not yours, nor does it belong to others. It is to be seen as old Kamma, created by conditioning factors, generated by volition, a locus of sensation. Monks, bhikkhu, there are these three causes for the origination of Kamma. What three? Greed, hatred, delusion is the cause for the origination of Kamma. Any Kamma performed through greed, born of greed, caused by greed, originated by greed, ripens wherever the individual is reborn. Wherever the Kamma ripens, it is there that one experiences results, either in this very life, or in the next rebirth, or in some subsequent occasion. Any Kamma performed through hatred, through delusion, ripens wherever that individual is reborn. Wherever that Kamma ripens, it is there that one experiences results. Monks, bhikkhus, there are these three other causes for the origination of Kamma. What three? Non-greed, non-hatred, and non-delusion is a cause for the origination of Kamma. Any Kamma performed through non-greed, born of non-greed, caused by non-greed, originated by non-greed, is abandoned when greed has vanished. It is cut off at the root, made like a palm stump, obliterated so that it is no more subject to future arising. Any Kamma performed through non-hatred, through non-delusion, is abandoned when delusion has vanished. It is cut off at the root, made like a palm stump, obliterated, so that it is no more subject to future arising. Monks, bhikkhus, there are these three causes for the origination of Kamma. What three? Greed, hatred, and delusion. Any Kamma performed through greed, born of greed, caused by greed, originated from greed, is unwholesome, harmful, and results in dukkha. That Kamma leads to the origination of Kamma, not to the cessation of Kamma. Any Kamma performed through hatred, through delusion, leads to the origination of Kamma. Monks, bhikkhus, There are these three other causes for the origination of Kamma. What three? Non-greed, non-hatred, and non-delusion. Any Kamma performed through non-greed, born of non-greed, caused by non-greed, originated by non-greed, is wholesome, beneficial, results in sukha. That Kamma leads to the cessation of Kamma, not to the origination of Kamma. Any Kamma performed through non-hatred, through non-delusion, leads to the cessation of Kamma. Monks, bhikkhus, the destruction of life, I say, is threefold: caused by greed, caused by hatred, caused by delusion. Taking what is not given, sexual misconduct, false speech, divisive speech, harsh speech, idle chatter, covetousness, ill will, wrong view, I say, is also threefold: caused by greed, caused by hatred, and caused by delusion. Thus, greed is the source of the origin of Kamma. Hatred is the source of the origin of Kamma. Delusion is the source and origin of Kamma, which is the destruction of greed. A source of Kamma is extinguished. With the destruction of hatred, the source of Kamma is extinguished. With the destruction of delusion, a source of Kamma is distinguished or extinguished. Punya, there are four kinds of action proclaimed by me after realizing them for myself with direct knowledge. What are the four, Punya? There is dark action with dark results. There is bright action with bright results. There is dark and bright action with dark and bright results. There is action that is neither dark nor bright, with neither dark nor bright results. Action that leads to the destruction of action. And what punya? A dark action with dark results. Here someone generates an afflictive bodily formation, an afflictive verbal formation, an afflictive mental formation. Having generated an afflictive bodily formation, he reappears in an afflictive world. When he has reappeared in an afflictive world, afflictive contacts touch him. Being touched by afflictive contact, he feels afflictive feelings, extremely painful, as in the case of being in hell. On this account, a being rebirths due to previous action. One is reborn through the action one has performed. One has reappeared. Contact touches one. Thus I say that beings that are the heirs of their action, this is called dark action with dark results. And what punya is bright action with bright results. Here someone generated an unafflictive bodily formation, an unafflictive verbal formation, an unafflictive mental formation. Having generated an unafflictive bodily formation, he reappears in an unafflictive world. When he has appeared in an unafflictive world, unafflictive contacts touch him. Being touched by an unafflictive contact, he feels unafflictive feelings, extremely pleasant, as the case of the gods of refluent glory. On this account, a being rebirths due to previous actions. One is reborn through the action one has performed. When one has reappeared, contact touches one. Thus I say that beings are the heirs of their own action. This is called bright action with bright results. And what punya is dark and bright action with dark and bright results. Here someone generates a bodily formation, a verbal formation, a mental formation that is both afflictive and unafflictive. Having generated a bodily formation that is both afflictive and unafflictive, he reappears in that world is both afflictive and unafflictive. What he has reappeared in this world that is both afflictive and unafflictive, both afflictive and unafflictive contacts touches him. Being touched by both afflictive and unafflictive contact, he feels both afflictive and unafflictive feelings. Mingled pleasure and pain, as the case of human beings and some gods and some beings in the lower worlds. On this account, a being rebirths due to the previous action. One is reborn through the action one has previously performed. When one has reappeared, contact touches one. Thus I say that beings are the heirs of their action. This is called dark and bright action with dark and bright results. And what punya is the action that is neither dark nor bright with neither dark nor bright results. Action that leads to the destruction of action. In regard to those three kinds of actions, the volition of abandoning actions in dark and with dark results, the volition of abandoning action that is bright with bright results, and the volition of abandoning action that is dark and bright with the dark and bright results. This is called action that is neither dark nor bright, with neither dark nor bright results. Action that leads to the destruction of actions. Monks, bhikkhus, there are 4 kinds of Kamma. What kind, monks, is dark Kamma with dark results? Here someone destroys life, take what is not given, engages in sexual misconduct, speak falsely, indulges in intoxicating beverages or liquor or spirits. The basis for heedlessness. This is called dark Kamma with dark results. And what, monks, is bright Kamma with bright results? Here someone abstains from destruction of life, from taking what is not given, from sexual misconduct, from false speech, from intoxicating beverages of liquor and spirits. The basis of heedlessness. This is called bright action and bright results. And what, monks, is dark and bright Kamma with dark and bright results? Here someone generates a bodily volitional activity, a verbal volitional activity, a mental volitional activity that is both afflictive and non-afflictive. This is called dark and bright Kamma with dark and bright results. And what, monks, is Kamma that is neither dark nor bright with neither dark nor bright results? Kamma that leads to the destruction of Kamma. In regard to those 3 kinds of Kamma, the volition is abandoned. These 3 kinds of Kamma is called Kamma that is neither dark nor bright, with neither dark nor bright results. Kamma that leads to the destruction of Kamma. Monks, there are 4 kinds of Kamma. And what, monks, is dark Kamma with dark results? Monks, what is bright Kamma with bright results? Monks, what is dark and bright Kammas and dark and bright results? Monks, is Kamma neither dark nor bright with neither dark nor bright results? Kamma that leads to the destruction of Kamma, right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Thus, it's called Kamma that is neither dark nor bright, nor neither dark nor bright results. Kamma that leads to the destruction of Kamma. Monks, there are 4 kinds of Kamma. And what, monks, is dark Kamma and dark results? Monks, is bright Kamma with bright results. And monks, what is dark and bright Kamma with dark and bright results? And what, monks, is Kamma that is neither dark nor bright with neither dark nor bright results? Kamma that leads to the destruction of Kamma. The enlightenment factor of mindfulness. The enlightenment factor of investigation of the law of Dhamma. The enlightenment factor of effort. The enlightenment factor of rapture. The enlightenment factor of tranquility. The enlightenment factor of concentration. And the enlightenment factor of equanimity. Here, Uttayi, a monk develops the enlightenment factor of mindfulness. The enlightenment factor of equanimity is based upon seclusion, dispassion, and cessation, which is vast, exalted, measureless, free from oppression. When he develops the enlightenment factor of mindfulness, the enlightenment factor of equanimity, tanha, craving, is abandoned. With abandoning of tanha, craving, Kamma is abandoned. With the abandoning of Kamma, dukkha, suffering, is abandoned. Thus, the destruction of tanha, craving, comes to the destruction of Kamma. With the destruction of Kamma comes with the destruction of dukkha, suffering.